2024 World Cup circuit. It's the start of a very busy period of racing at this level. The chance for athletes to finish the last few months of the season in style. The elite men's race coming up live in just a few minutes' time over the full Olympic distance. And if you're with us for the women's race earlier, you'll know just what an exciting course we've got here in Karlovy Vary. My name's Trevor Harris. Alongside me is triple Olympian Gillian Sanders. We'll have a look at the field in a minute, Gillian, in detail. But unlike the women, we've got a big field here, more than 50 men. And one of those that kind of jumped off the page at me was Cassandre. He's had an interesting season. He got on the podium at Louvain in a World Cup earlier this year. Very creditable fifth in the World Championship race at Hamburg. I would think he might be quietly fancying his chances for this race.
Yeah, he's had an unusual year. Unfortunately missed out on qualifying for Paris and was extremely disappointed about that, but by his own admission had been injured in a lot of the qualification period. But yeah, has had some really good recent results. That fifth in Hamburg definitely stands out. And we know his pedigree. We know he's won a World Series race. He's raced a whole lot of different distances, some mixed team relays, some 70.3s. Yeah, I think he quietly fancies himself. He wants to probably make up for some disappointment last year as well.
Yeah, that race he won. Never forgotten that 2018 Norwegian clean sweep in Bermuda. But he's just shown a few signs of coming back to form. And actually, he mentioned that he obviously wasn't at the Games in Paris. He went to Watelco and helped them qualify, helped Norway qualify for the mixed team relay, even though he knew that he personally wasn't going to win it. So that was a selfless act. Just to tell you, as we look at the start list, number 5 on that list there, Martin Sobey of Canada, he is not starting here today. So it leaves us with a field of 52. I watched Kevin Vinwela last year in the, I think it was the duathlon, and he can shift. You've got a brief look at the map for the swim there, which is 1,500 meters. It is full Olympic distance, which means a 40k bike and a 10k run. And crowds generally come out in force, especially because we have been blessed with glorious weather. We reckon it's going to get up to somewhere near 30 degrees centigrade. That is well over 80 on the Fahrenheit scale. So you couldn't ask for better conditions. Not a breath of wind. You can see those trees. Not a leaf is moving there around the Roklava Lake. It is, I mean, we mentioned it when we looked at the women's race earlier, Gillian, but for those who weren't with us then, it's worth reiterating, I think, just how popular this course has become over the, what is it now, 7 years we've been racing here on the World Cup circuit.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really honest course. We've got this hill and there's nowhere to hide on this hill. So I think the athletes really relish racing a tough course. It definitely suits those stronger cyclists. Yeah, and I guess it's like a bucket list race for any of the athletes. It's been on the circuit for a while now. Everyone knows about it. It's a beautiful place to come and race, and the athletes absolutely love racing here. So, yeah, it's good to see a lineup of 52 men. We had a smaller field for the women, but yeah, I think this is a pretty open race here today. We've got some really quality men racing, some younger athletes as well. So I think we're in for an exciting day.
We're obviously not long since the Olympics, and some of the really big names having a little bit of a break, and of course they'll be back for the 2 remaining World Championship Series races, one in China and then the grand final in Torremolinos in Spain in October. But what it does do in this World Cup race and the other World Cup races, and there are still several scheduled for the rest of the year, gives some of the younger triathletes the chance to kind of get their moment in the spotlight. So it'll be fascinating to see whether we get any shock names. We had one earlier in the women's race in 4th place. Really impressive, Marta Kropko of Hungary. So we may see something similar amongst the men. And it's a kind of course that's made for breakaways too. I mean, I know it's a bigger field than the women, but I'd be very surprised if we had like a group of 20 men riding around together. It doesn't happen here, does it?
No, not conducive to big fields. We saw Mark de Vey get his debut podium last year, so suits the likes of someone like Mark de Vey, a really strong swim biker. Yeah, conducive to breakaways. Yeah, so I think we're in for an interesting day. Like you said, a lot of opportunity in these World Cup races post-Olympics, and we just see Taylor Reid there, ranked #1 from New Zealand.
Yeah, he's had a decent season, a couple of top 20s in World Championship races this year. And Marc Devet, as you mentioned, who will almost certainly go well on a course like this. John Reid, who had a bit of a big build-up, didn't he, a few years ago when he came into the sport with a track background. So we'll see how he goes today. Stornes, we've mentioned, probably the biggest name in the field, actually.
Yeah, and got Jack Willis of Great Britain ranked number 7. And Alois Knabel, Alois Knabel from Austria.
Knabel is only one of 2 men in this field who raced in Paris. Matthew Wright of Barbados is the other.
Yeah, a little bit different to the women's race where we had quite a lot of Paris Olympians on the circuit today. Matt Wright was the flag bearer at the closing ceremony for Barbados, so a huge privilege for him.
Uwe Moosburger of France just going through. Do have a couple of Japanese, including Yoshikawa.
Saxon Morgan of New Zealand.
Yeah, he was in Hamburg and actually did okay in the last World Series event before the Games. There is Vinwela. Now, if he can get his bike skills going, he's not without a chance, you know. He's really good in the water and a very quick runner.
Yeah, he's just won the Aquathlon World Champs in Townsville in Australia and got a lot of cross triathlon experience, so he'll be strong on the bike as well on a hilly course. So yeah, I think he's a bit of an outside chance.
Van der Planck, who it's great to see back. He had a really nasty incident where he got hit by a car on his way back from the Triathlon World Champs last year. In hospital for a while, but he's okay. Good to see him here. Georgentum of France, who had that one magic performance in Hamburg a few years ago where he got on the podium. Haven't seen that much since, but clearly there's some talent there.
Yeah, he's still hasn't been on a World Cup podium, so a chance for him here today as well.
The move of Austria, keeping himself cool. It is very warm. Normally we're used to seeing wetsuit swims at Karlovy Vary. That is not the case today. No wetsuits, as you can see.
Manager of the Netherlands, Russell White, has also had some difficult times recently. Good to see him back racing the last year or so.
Truly international field, actually. Europeans, Asians, North Americans.
We've got 5 Czech athletes, 6 Austrians, so a big contingent from Austria, and as we would expect, a big contingent from Czechia.
Yeah, Michalek, one of those just going through. Gone of the Netherlands.
Philip Mainville from Canada, number 37.
And a lot of these men are actually racing here at Karlovy Vary for the first time, but they'll know exactly what's in store for them. They'll have seen the videos, and they'll have had the experience of riding that hill in the build-up to this week.
Yeah, a lot of them are debuting World Cups here today, so first time racing a World Cup. So yeah, and a lot of young athletes, lots of 20, 21-year-old athletes racing, so a huge opportunity for them all.
We saw, as Park of Korea goes through, we saw a huge separation in the swim in the women's race earlier. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a similar story here, because, as Gillian says, some of these guys making their World Cup debuts on arguably the toughest World Cup course of the year.
Yeah, and similar to the women's, you've got some of the top swimmers in world triathlon racing, the likes of Marc Devet. We know that he can move pretty rapidly in the water, so he'll be pushing the pace up front. Taylor Reid's also pretty strong in the water. But yeah, an opportunity for the younger athletes to be able to race a World Cup.
So all 52 men now on the podium. And the first boy comes up after only a couple of 100 meters. So with a fairly big field, they're going to have to be just a little bit careful how they negotiate that. You see triathletes get stood up before in that kind of a situation if they're going around 4, 5, 6 abreast.
You are now in the hands of starter.
Stand by. Off and underway, it looked a clean start. 52 men taking their chance on what is surely the toughest World Cup course we race on all season.
And it looked like our athletes ranked number 1 to 10 in those yellow swim caps. They pretty much all decided to start on this right-hand side as we look at our screen here. Yeah, you mentioned 200 odd meters to the first swim buoy. Wasn't so much of an issue in the women's race because the field was so small, but we know typically in the past as well, this is quite a tight swim course. So positioning and really getting out fast and getting to that first buoy is really, really important for these men here today.
You would expect Mark DeVay, who, if you're trying to spot the numbers on the swim caps, which isn't easy, but DeVay is number 2, so you'd expect him to be right there.
It's one of our blue swim caps going out pretty hard there. That's athletes 31 to 40. We'll probably get a closer look at some point.
Yeah, so those athletes on the right of the swimmers are going to have to kind of cut in a little bit when they come to that first buoy. Otherwise, they're going a long, long way round. You can spot that number. You're a better man than I can't.
I'm going to have to guess who that is. I know Hayden Longcroft-Harris, the Canadian, is a strong swimmer. It could be Hayden if that's number 32, but we'll try and get a closer look at that.
Yeah, we'll get the first timings from the little chip bracelets they wear around their ankles when they come out at the conclusion of their first lap. It's a 2-lap swim, 750 meters each lap. There's a little bird's eye view of the Roklava Lake.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, you can just see those athletes who started on the far right starting to come across. It's a great drone shot there. So that is 32 closest to screen, Hayden Longcroft-Harris, and then at the top of screen, I think that's 36, which will be Zelan Hobo of Hungary. He's one of the young Hungarians, only 20 years old.
Yeah, there are quite a few Hungarians in this field, actually.
You can just see a lot of argy-bargy going on there around that buoy. Some of the guys are actually coming to a standstill.
I tell you what, Keller Norman of America stood up for about 5 seconds. He was going nowhere. We've got someone at the back really struggling. It might be Nicholas Keller of Austria.
Yeah, really tough. It's a really short distance, 200 meters from the pontoon, and when everyone converges at the same time around that turn buoy, it's absolute carnage sometimes. You can just see how widely spread those guys are at the back. They're probably about almost like, looks like about 12 wide across, and so you can imagine trying to get all of those athletes around a turn buoy together.
Arms and legs flailing everywhere, and of course that means they lose ground on those at the front who don't have a problem.
So it's 2 Hungarian athletes up front. We've got Mark DeVay wearing the yellow number 2 and his younger compatriot Zelan Hobo, the 20-year-old.
DeVay, of course, has led countless World Triathlon Championship Series races after the swim, including this year in Yokohama. Of course, didn't make the Olympics.
The Hungarians were so strong this year. It was really tough for them to make the team. I think they got 3 spots, but yeah, the competition was extremely tough right to the very end for them, and unfortunately Mark DeVay was one of those who missed out. We've got Taylor Reid was just sitting behind the 2 Hungarian athletes there, the New Zealander who's ranked number 1 today. Also really disappointing for him not qualifying or being selected, should I say, for Paris.
Yeah, he was top 20 in Tokyo in 2021, the previous Olympic Games. Actually, his first World Cup medal came here. Karlovy Vary got a bronze back in 2017. Taylor Reid.
Him, Russell White and Mark DeVay are the 3 men on the start list today who've medaled in Karlovy Vary. So good odds for Taylor Reid and Mark DeVay. Russell White's obviously just coming back from some illnesses. I'm not so sure where he'll be, but nice to see him back in action. Having podiumed here back in 2018. That's a
great view on, I was going to say, you get a great view on that little island. Go walk over the bridge and just park yourself with a blanket, maybe a glass of something. Yeah, perfect.
Great afternoon. Yeah, it's great for the spectators, the swim course. You can actually see a lot of the action. I was just going to say that part of the swim course is quite tricky because it's pretty shallow and there's some sharp rocks under the water.
We're going to say sharks for a minute. There's no sharks in the lake.
It's not the same. It's not the same. Yeah, so it's a tricky swim course. It's a different swim course, and I think that also makes it, you know, quite interesting. Taylor Reid there in shot, number 1. Sitting on the feet of Mark de Vey there.
Yeah, Reid has won a World Cup gold. It was a long time ago, actually. It was in Antwerp back in 2019.
Third here in 2017, so
yeah.
He likes this course.
Yeah, and he got a bronze, didn't he, in Chengdu this year.
Indeed, yes.
Just off the podium in Wollongong. So every chance of getting on a podium today. I think most people in the sport were delighted when Mark de Vey got that medal here last year, because he's one of those competitors who's just, you know, so good in the water. He's a pretty good biker, and so often he used to get run out of it. And finally came a day where that didn't happen.
Yeah, it feels like he's always there, and he's always doing a lot of work as well. So I think everyone was just really pleased to see that rewarded. It was a good day for both him and Jonas Schomburg. Jonas obviously not racing here today, but again, one of those athletes who was always up there, but just didn't seem to be able to get onto a podium. And having both of them on the podium last year was wonderful.
Yeah.
Looks like Mark's pushing the pace. There's a little bit of a gap actually between him and Taylor Reid, so he's not hanging around for anyone today. It is pretty spread out already.
Yeah, you can see the swimmers towards the back of the field haven't even got to that buoy yet, and de Vey is 60 odd yards or meters past it. Would expect the men to complete the swim around about maybe 18 minutes, something like that. So they're not a million miles away from coming out at the completion of the first lap. And as I say, that's when we'll get all of the timings. I'm curious where Casper Stornes is in particular.
Yeah, I mean, if he has a weakness, his swim is the weakness out of his 3 disciplines. But yeah, hopefully he's managed to put himself in a good position here today. He's number 6 and will be wearing a yellow swim cap, so I want to keep an eye out for him.
So de Vey is going to lead them out after the first lap. Actually, quite a quick swim. This is going to be inside 8.5 minutes. Not inside.
Yeah, and a little bit of a gap there.
So de Vey and Reid, followed by Mulbo the Hungarian, then Demuth of Austria.
Hayden Longcroft-Harris, Thiago Silva, Knabel, Yoshikawa, Kevin Turek, Gonzalez, John Reid up there as well. And yeah, there's a bit of a gap between 11th place to 12th, so 11 athletes more or less in the front.
Stornes half a minute back after that first lap. You won't want that to extend too much more, even though we know about his bike skills.
Long train of men strung out.
Last man out in the water is Filip Tamka, one of the Czech triathletes, who's nearly a minute back on Mark de Vey.
It's a very quick first lap of the swim.
I think from Devey's point of view, well, and Taylor Reid's actually come to that, they'd like a little group of maybe 4, 5, 6, something like that.
Yeah, I think that would be a good size. I think last year we had a few more than that. We might have had about 8 to 10 last year, but I think the year before Mark Devey was in a group and there were only 4 of them, and that managed to stay away on the bike. They did get, some of them got run down, but I think, yeah, that would be a good size group. Definitely have 11 of them clear at the moment. Two of our Austrians, Demuth and Nabel. We know they're pretty strong on the bike, and they really relish riding on these hard courses as well, the Austrians.
Got various marshals out on the lake. You saw one of them there, just keeping a keen eye for any irregularities in the water. Time penalties here, 15 seconds, it being full Olympic distance.
Yeah, much more strung out now. They won't endure the same carnage, I don't think, on this lap. You can see. I think Mark Devey was extremely disappointed, but he seems to have just done a swim across the largest lake in Hungary, Lake Balaton, which is 14 kilometers wide. And he did that swim in 1 hour and 5 minutes, which is quite something. I think he just did it for fun. I guess, why not?
If someone said, why did you do it? You probably just said it because it's there, like the famous Everest quote,
yeah.
Because he likes the challenge. And I think he's going to have a chance for Los Angeles. I mean, he's only 28, so 32 isn't too old.
No, it's a pretty good age. A lot of these athletes peak in their late 20s, early 30s. So yeah, you might wonder why they're keeping kind of further to the right there. It's just because those rocks under the water does become quite shallow and you can cut yourself if you get too close to the bank. Yeah, great spot for the spectators there. I can't think of many swim courses where you can get that close to the swimmers.
No, it's fantastic. And actually, I mean, it's a brilliant viewing course once they get out onto the bike and indeed the run. If you haven't seen a Karlovy Vary triathlon before, it's magnificent. You get up close and personal with them. Pretty much everywhere on the course there's a vantage point. Also, you'll see a bit later when they are out on the bike ride that there are restaurants and bars where there'll be spectators sitting there with a glass of something watching the action. Taking that inside route on this part of the swim. You've got about maybe 4.5 minutes left in the water.
Drone pilot doing well there. The drone making its way under the bridge, bringing us these great shots.
I've never thought, and it'll hate me for saying this, I've never thought Devey's got the prettiest stroke in the world. It's just mighty effective.
I think it's a really efficient open water style.
Yeah,
You can see how he almost limps with the stroke, which is very effective, particularly in choppy water, because you can just cut through like the waves, so to speak.
It just always fascinates me if you compare that stroke to some of the great swimmers of all time, you know, Phelps or whatever, Thorpe, Mark Spitz going back even further than that. It looks markedly different, but he's doing a different job.
Yeah, I guess Bianca Serigny has a very smooth stroke.
Yeah.
She hardly levitates in the water. She just looks like she's cutting through it. Some athletes just look super easy. Some athletes have, you know, wilder strokes, I guess. Just as efficient. Yeah, it probably matters more what's going on under the water with your catch. But yeah, you don't want to be lifting your head too much because it obviously creates resistance, but in open water swimming you also need to sight, so to kind of look where you're going. Yeah, Mark DeVay trying to string things out as much as possible. There you can see they're all pretty much in a straight line. Looks from that angle like we've still got those 11 athletes clear.
And massive separation as you go back down the field. Wow.
Yeah, very strung out. It was a minute between Mark DeVay at the front and our last athlete out the water, so could be close to 2 minutes at the end of the 1,500 meter swim. Not much running to be had out the water. They exit and they're pretty much into transition straight away.
He's had some consistent results on the World Series this year, DeVay. 22nd in Hamburg, 23rd in Cagliari. Prior to that, he was top 6 in the Samarkand World Cup.
Yeah, and he likes these challenging bike courses. I think prior to his podium last year, his previous career best was a 4th in Arzakina, and we know how brutal that course was as well.
Yeah.
He's always done pretty well on this course.
World Aquathon champion a couple of years ago, DeVay in Samarine. So coming towards the end of the swim now, DeVay's been out front for virtually all of it.
And who will be the first back? We are expecting Taylor Reid from New Zealand, Mark DeVay from Hungary, John Reed from the US, and we
Taylor Reid certainly has made sure that DeVay's not going to go charging clear. He's in close proximity.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll become allies once they jump onto the bike.
Hobor still there, the Hungarian.
Number 19, Kevin Buñuela Gonzalez as well, reigning aquathlon world champ.
Yeah, I think he might be a dangerous customer today. I'm curious how he's going to perform.
Yeah, I think the hard bike course might suit him, given his mountain biking and cross triathlon background. We'll see. Let's see how he goes. But should suit him from a strength perspective. So Mark DeVay first out of the water.
That's a quick swim inside 17.5 minutes. Yeah, we might get a lead group of maybe 10 or so. Let's see. It's John Reed just coming out for the US.
Zickman just hanging by a thread to those 10 athletes.
And then we've got a distinct gap. So he needs a good transition, Zickman. Hobor was the quickest away.
Yeah, very swift. Zickman looks like he's just mounted his bike. One of the, looks like Canadians or no, Austrians coming out. Yeah, Zickman's going to have to work really hard this first portion of the bike.
Let's see, the bikers are down the road, and we've still got some just coming out of transition. Some still coming out of the water, actually.
Looks like Matt Wright, Jack Willis, and Saxon Morgan, the three of them.
Another member of the Hungarian swimming team from Latvia,
Just looking down to see how far back Stornes is. 41 seconds. So he actually undid a little bit of the damage there on that second. He only lost 10 seconds on that second lap, the Norwegian.
He's got his countryman Sebastian Bernison for company as well, so might be tactical for the two of them to try and work together.
Still they come.
Nicholas Holmes, one of the young American athletes, one or two of them having their debut World Cups here today.
That was the Korean Choi. Struggling a little bit in the early stages here, just trying to get into the shoes. Needs to get onto the wheel of the 3 or 4 riders in front of him.
Holmes off on the bike. This is his second World Cup. His first one was in Butelko early on in the year.
So just to explain what's happening here. So it's a really clever layout, actually, the bike course. So there's an initial approach. It's about 6.5 kilometers where they effectively ride into town. And then after that, it's 7 laps, just under 5 Ks each. So if you add it all up, it comes to around about 40 kilometers, just over. What they have to deal with, though, is that 20% gradient on each of the 7 laps in the town centre.
Yeah, the course approach is also not flat or straightforward. I think you probably heard in Maya Kingma's post-race interview, she tactically decided to really go for it on that part of the course. I think she said there's a hill, you know, once they exit the lake area, and that's where she chose to go, probably catching some of the others unaware, thinking that I'll go now instead of waiting for the hill in town.
Well, she said they didn't seem interested, so I thought I'd go.
Why not?
Yeah. There you go. So here's the course as I just explained. So 6.5 Ks into the town centre, but it's not flat, as Gillian says. So there's potential, if 3 or 4 are like-minded, that they could get a bit of a run on their rivals, as we saw exactly happen in the women's race. And then when they get to the town centre of Karlovy Vary, it's 7 laps, almost 5 kilometres on each lap. So Kevin Vinweiler just on the outside of Muth there.
Taylor Reed's there, DeVay's there. It didn't look like there was anyone else further up the road. Hobor.
Well, counted 10 to Narble. I don't know if there's anyone behind him.
I think it was Zickman who was just off the back of them, wasn't he? I don't see him there, so he might have just missed this group. Yeah, Narble looks like the last athlete to make the group.
So 10 at the front.
Yeah. Yeah, and probably a good sized group. You can just see there a little bit of a gap forming.
I'm glad to see John Reed in that group, because there was a real kind of hullabaloo, wasn't there, when he sort of came into triathlon, and particularly from the American side, because he's come from a running background. He won the Under-23 American Championships in March in Miami. In fact, it was good enough for third amongst the elites. Only Morgan Pearson and Dar Smith were actually faster than him. But sometimes I think you can almost hype someone up a little bit too much. It just puts a bit too much pressure on him. I mean, he's only 23 now. But it would have done his confidence a power of good to have got into this leading group.
Yeah, he still races, I think, in the under-23 category. I think this might be his last year under-23.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Yeah. And he debuted on the World Triathlon Championship Series circuits in Hamburg. That was his first race at the very highest level, and he was 16th there, which I think is a pretty good debut.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And he got a World Cup medal, didn't he, in Watelco. Nearly got a medal in Tizzy. So he's kind of showing that there's definitely a spark there. I just think sometimes, you know, you expect too much too soon. It's such a competitive sport at this level.
Yeah, hugely competitive. So it looks like 3 of them now have gone clear. Then there's a little bit of a gap. So a little bit of a similar situation to the women's race, where these 3 athletes have taken an opportunity to make a go for it earlier on. These athletes look like, well, they're just looking at each other at the moment, hoping someone's going to chase them down. There's a Norwegian tri-suit there. That'll be Stornes and Wernersen. They were together out the water. Looked like they were catching some athletes in front of them. And we know Wernersen and Stornes were 24th and 25th out the water, so it's probably catching that group of 11th and 12th onwards. So that's probably our chase group at the moment, that bigger group of men. Looks like Barbados tri-suit Matt Wright in the yellow and blue at the back of that group. question is, can these guys now get organized and not let the other three get away? It looks like they're chasing them back down there.
Yeah, they may well catch back on again.
Yeah, although someone's now in between the two groups.
Yeah, and when it splinters like that, it tends to favour the breakaway guys at the front. So see if that is the case here.
Yeah, these three men almost want to get to the hill as quickly as possible so that they can try and break away from those athletes chasing.
Always remember that Leeds used to have a similar scenario whereby there was I think it was about 8 or 9 kilometres in there, where they went from the lake to the town centre and then they did laps. But there was a moment in one of the years that was that case, where it were the two Brownie brothers out front, and literally the chasing pack got to within 5 seconds, and then Alistair, one of his trademark surges, they managed to get away. So just because they look like they're getting back on doesn't necessarily mean they will be able to. Be fascinating to see when they come out this tunnel. Looks like they may have, yeah, I think they've got back on there.
I think so, yeah. From that camera angle, it looks like it. We'll see what happens once they hit the hill, but yeah, certainly it looks like they may have caught back on.
Yeah, because Vinwela with that yellow tri-suit at the front.
He was in that front group of 3.
Yes, he was, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see now on the first time they go up the hill whether that's taken it out of the legs of any of these guys. That early chase down.
Didn't take them very long, did it, to complete that opening little salvo from lake to town centre.
No, that was very, very quick.
Winning time in the women's race earlier was 2 hours, 5 minutes and change. I expect somewhere around 150, 152, something like that in the men's race.
Yeah, it was Morgan Pearson of the USA who took the title last year. Just Mark DeVay returning from last year's podium out of those 3 athletes. Some of the athletes taking a drink already. Must be quite warm out there. Mentally preparing themselves for going up that climb for the first time.
So 7 laps from here.
Yeah, the steepest part of this climb around 20%. Probably distance-wise about 500 to 600 meters long, so quite a lengthy challenging hill to go.
But they never shy to take on his share of the workload at the front currently.
Chase group.
Looks to be like 20 of them in that group. Rensato right in the middle of it, the Japanese. Saxon Morgan, Willis of Great Britain, Wurtz of Germany, all tucked in those in that chasing pack.
Yeah, timings have them at 37 seconds behind. 40 seconds behind the leaders, heading up onto this first lap of 4.9 Ks, 7 laps of 4.9.
Well, a little bit of Casper Storner's power might reduce that gap. We'll see.
Yeah, and he'll have a bit of redemption on his mind after last year. He said he was ill leading into this race last year. He unfortunately didn't finish, and he was quite upset about that, so wants to come in and put a strong performance here today.
He's an incredibly versatile athlete, isn't he, Casper Stornes? I mean, we mentioned that fantastic win he had in Bermuda. I mean, he got a podium in Levain in that indoor event. It was actually fantastic. It was about the first or second event this season in France. And he's a guy who's also won 70.3 races. So yeah, he can do anything.
He's so versatile. Like you said, he helped the Norwegians to that mixed team relay win. So he's great at the super sprint. He's pretty good at Olympic distance and 70.3 as well. So it's just won a 70.3 in Poland, I think, a few weeks ago. So no problem performing at all types of distances.
Alois Nabel is also in that leading group. Very respectable 23rd in Paris at the Olympic Games, although unfortunately Austria were lapped out in the relay. It's actually only his 6th individual race this year. Best of 12th for Hong Kong. World Cup race there in March, so clearly he'll be hoping to go much better than that. That's actually been a disappointing sort of time. Well, back end of last year, he got a 4th place here, but other than that, not much to write home. But it's never got a World Cup medal, actually.
No, I think 4th has been his best World Cup result. Does like a hard, hilly course. He was 10th in the grand final in Lausanne, which was quite a few years ago, but we know that that was an extremely tough course in Switzerland.
133rd race today for Nabel, 32-year-old.
This is a big group, this chase group.
Well, that's the thing as well. You know, how organised can they be in terms of trying to whittle down this 40-second gap with the leading 10?
I wouldn't say it's massively beneficial being in such a big group on a course like this, because you're either climbing or descending, and you know, a bigger group, you're going to roll much faster on a flatter technical course. So size-wise, these guys, this lead group, is a much better size group. You will see when they come around, it was 40 seconds after the course approach. This is our 2nd chase group. So I think those athletes were a further minute and a half. So a minute and a half off the leaders, that 2nd chase group.
Yeah, and I think from the naked eye, they looked like there were about 10 or 11 of them in that 2nd chase pack. And that was Sullivan Middle of the US. That was the guy kind of stuck between them and those a bit further back. So he's in no man's land riding solo.
Yeah, that's a lonely place to be. Just reaching the bottom of the descent. They'll cross back over the river and then head back onto the lap. I think Sullivan Midder is first. It's his debut World Cup today. It's also just a great experience for these guys to see what it's like racing at this level, what standard is required, what work needs to be done once they go home, just establishing what their strengths and weaknesses are and how they can improve next time around. I still like to use the analogy where Alistair Brownlee, I think, finished 60-something in his first World Championships, and then we saw what happened. He was so cross with himself, apparently, after that race. And, yeah, we know where that went.
Yeah, I mean, logic tells you that the 20 or so that are chasing shouldn't be able probably to put any to reduce the 40-second gap, but we'll find out soon enough, because the leading 10 aren't far away, as you can see, from coming round to complete their opening lap, and then when the chasers follow, we'll get the timings. Taylor Reid asking for a bit of help.
Yeah, the only part of the course that might be beneficial is to be in a bigger group is actually this part of the course. So from that section where they go through the tunnel leading to transition, because it's not so technical, it's a bit of an incline, and there's a bit more space for the guys. But certainly on the climb and the descent, there's no benefit really being in a massive group of 20 guys. Taylor Reid just looked a little bit frustrated there. No one else wanted to come through. It looks like now Narwhal has decided to take it on.
Well, he's usually a pretty aggressive rider, so surprised that there was a kind of shortage of volunteers.
Yeah, he's normally not shy to do work at all. We've got DeVay and Hobor. Hobor sticking to DeVay, his countryman, like glue.
So the completion of their first lap. We're exactly, what, 35 minutes into this race. And we're going to see now what the gap is to that large chase pack. I'm guessing it will be more than 40 seconds, but we'll see.
So 10 athletes in this lead group. Actually, it's reduced by a few seconds, so 36 seconds. Yeah.
4 seconds, okay.
Yeah. Which is good news for those chasers because they haven't lost any time.
Well, if they keep taking off 4 seconds of that, they'll be almost with them by the time they come off the bikes.
And surprisingly, it's the two Norwegians at the front of that group driving the pace, Kasper Stornes and Sebastian Wernersen.
Yeah, and again, I think that's why it was important that the gap in the water didn't extend to kind of like a minute or a minute and a bit, because that would have made it very, very difficult. 40 seconds, just about manageable. We'll see what Stornes and Co can do in behind.
Yes, so that's, I think, 30 athletes through, and then we have second chase pack, I think, still to come through there. Yeah, they're just coming through now, a minute and a half back. Attaining the likes of Maxime Huber, Musburger, Erwin van der Planck, Baptiste Passamard. So the two French athletes will be a little bit disappointed with their swims. Jorge Gentham as well, sitting in that group.
I reckon there were 13 of them in that second chase pack. Yeah, George Jensen, that Hamburg race you mentioned, hasn't done a great deal else, to be honest. This year, he's had a couple of top fives in Europe Cup races. He was a multi-talented child, actually. He played football, handball and judo. And that out of the blue silver in Hamburg was in 2021. He was the World Junior Champ, in fact, silver at the World Junior Champs 2018. Never made the top 10 in a World Cup race yet.
Yeah, he seems to have done all right in the European Cup circuits, but like you say, no top 10s, I don't think, this year on the World Cup circuit. And yeah, he's hunting an elusive World Cup podium. Yeah, this is the top of the climb. The athletes do a dead turn. They then start descending. Take a 90-degree turn to the left, and then it flattens out a bit, and then they'll descend down into quite a technical part through the shopping district.
We've lost one out that leading group, Gillian, I'm sure.
Oh dear.
I'm sure there's only 9 now. That's my maths is up the Swanee. I'm pretty sure one of the athletes isn't in that league group. When we get back to the league group, we'll...
Yeah, this is our chasers.
Here it is, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's 9 athletes. I've also done a quick count. So we have lost someone. Both the Austrians are there. Taylor Reid's there. I think both the Hungarians are there.
Venuela is there.
Venuela is there. Yoshikawa, I think, is there.
Yep.
John Reid? I haven't seen him.
Well, that is a concern. It's John Reid.
Hayden Longcroft Harris. We'll get a better look shortly. Yeah, definitely counted 9 as well. These are chasers. You can spot the 2 Norwegian tri-suits. And Jack Willis, Great Britain there. See how fast they're going. The cameraman can hardly catch them in shot.
Yeah, and it just takes, doesn't it, 1 lap. If they could pull back, you know, even 10, 12 seconds, it just kind of creates the momentum, because they'll know, they'll have spies on the course telling them that they're making ground up on the leaders.
Yeah, you do a count there, Trevor. That's it's 9 athletes. It's Taylor Reid, 2 Hungarians. I think it's Canadian and Austrian. I think we might be missing John Reid.
I don't see him.
No. Here's a closer look. No, Reid is there. Reid's there.
Okay.
Longcroft Harris is there.
Is it silver? It might be silver.
It might be, yeah.
I think.
The Portuguese athlete.
I think it's Miguel Silva. I mean, we'll see for sure when they come round through transition again. But I just have a feeling I saw a triathlete in a green tri-suit, like, kind of adrift from this leading group. So whether he's had... There he is.
Yeah, there we go, you're right. He's just hanging off the back. Yeah. He might have struggled up the climb and just finds himself dangling off the back. He might get back on this part of the course.
Looks like he's going to be. He's back on.
So 9 becomes 10 once more. You can just see them cycling on that smooth paving, trying to avoid the cobblestones, less resistance there. Yeah, the cobble's just creating a lot more rolling resistance, and it does start to wear the legs a bit. Yeah, so the time check was 36 seconds to the chasers. Stornes and Bernison chasing hard from that chase group behind, so we'll get another split pretty soon. Taylor Reid of New Zealand leading them through.
So the lead after the first lap was 36 seconds back to the chasers. Now they've come through to complete lap number 2. See whether the likes of Stornes and others who are trying to do some damage chasing have reduced the deficit any further. Whaler actually has been at the back a couple of times and just momentarily had an issue. 31 seconds now, so they are chipping away.
Yeah, 5 seconds or so per lap. They're just chipping away, but they're keeping themselves in the race as well. So they're still within striking distance, and they just need to keep motivated.
Burns, White, Panja amongst those in that chase group. Wright of Barbados, Jack Willis of Great Britain.
German athlete there taking the lead, and this is our second chase group. See, it's quite a few of the young American athletes leading them through. Got a group, the Project Podium group. You'll remember the collegiate program, which brought through, you know, so many great American women like Katie Zaferis, Gwen Jorgensen. So yeah, they've got a similar program with the men now, the Project Podium performance. So trying to bring these collegiate level. A lot of them come from running and swimming backgrounds into the sport. A few of them making their debut World Cup Yeah, today's a good opportunity for them to see what it takes to race at this level.
Just mentioning Jack Willis in the chase group. He's an interesting character. He's a former national cross-country runner and mountain runner, actually. He was in the British Junior mountain running squad. So if he's vaguely close when they come off the bikes, and they are getting closer, might be interesting.
Yeah, he's a solid athlete and a good 11th in Tizzy Varas not too long ago. That was over a shorter distance, so the 10K run might suit him a little bit better. 4th in Miyazaki was his best, career best World Cup result, so if he can improve upon that, I'm sure he'll be a very happy man.
And he's got a couple of top fives, hasn't he, in Europe Cup races this year?
Yeah. And I think he helped out and did a lot of training with our Olympic champion, Alex Yee, in the build-up to Paris. They spent quite a lot of time in France in the lead-up to that race.
Mark Devey just sneaking to the front here with a little look back. Is he looking at a possible solo break, or maybe wanted one or two to go with him? But he's got himself about a 5-second advantage here. Whaler is the chaser now.
Yeah, maybe just testing the legs of the guys and seeing, you know, putting a bit of pressure on, seeing if he did decide to go, who's going to go with. He's got a bit of a gap here now.
Well, this is a serious statement of intent from the Hungarian. Didn't expect that.
No, not at all.
Looking for maybe a break, but didn't think it would be just a one-man break. Let's see whether he can stay away. And if that 5 seconds becomes 10 and then 15, who knows? We know what a good biker he is. But very early, we've still got the best part of, 25Ks to go in the saddle.
Saw a shot of his brother there in that chase group heading down the hill. Yeah, so here he is. He's definitely made a break for it. Might also have got some information that that chase group were chipping away and they were only 30 seconds back, and he's decided, well, you know, I don't want to lose that advantage that they had coming out of the water, so if no one else wants to go for it, well, I'm going to give it a go myself.
And he's doing just that on the 3rd lap of 7.
And very familiar with this course, so he'll be confident. Place to actually do it as well, because on a descent like this, it is pretty hard to chase in a group. Descending on your own like that, you can take your own lines and things like that, whereas a chase group, a little bit more difficult to do so. Yeah, there you go. 5 seconds or so at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Someone's trying to go off the front of the rest of the group there and bridge up to Mark.
That would give them, if it comes to, a bit more of a chance, although looks like that kind of second little break might be covered. Let's see.
Has splintered the group apart, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Here's DeVay. Who is the athlete who is just behind him? Looks like he's bridging up.
Yeah, the rest aren't that far behind.
No, and they're back together more or less, so there's 7 of them. I think I counted 7, which means there might be someone missing. Ah, it's Taylor Reid.
Okay, so we've got the big 2, so to speak.
Yeah, now that's a good ally to have, and both of these men have podiumed here as well, so I think Mark DeVay will be very pleased to see Taylor Reid there.
Just looked across, checked to see who it was, but you can see how small the gap is.
It is small, yeah. They need to really push on. They really need to put in a really hard effort up the climb. See now, we're trying to close it down. He's looking around to see if anyone wants to come around and help. Yeah, this is their opportunity. Wilde now taking it on. He's broken off that group as well a little bit of a gap.
Well, there are the two leaders. Pivotal moment this, you suspect, if they can get away from those chases, even if they're only 20 seconds set. Might make a huge difference in the eventual outcome here in this World Cup race. Nearly 50 minutes in.
Yeah, if they're able to stay off the front, they put in a really almighty effort up the hill. You know, they can really take that gap out a little bit further. And we know what can potentially happen from then onwards. It's probably no more than about 5 seconds. It's 5 seconds at the moment.
So third lap completed, which means we're effectively halfway through the bike in terms of distance, because they had that 6K run in. Now
It's Robin Elg of Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's a problem.
I think a technical issue by the looks of it. It's frustrating, I'm sure. Something's not right.
No, that's not working.
I think he must have come down because he's trying to straighten his handlebars there. Now, are these two going to be able to take this gap out up the hill?
This is the place, isn't it? This is a place where potentially they could just eke another few seconds.
They need to just work really hard up that hill and then try and nail the descent as technically astutely as possible. I think Elg's had a crash. You can see the back of his suit is ripped there.
Yeah.
And he's really struggling to get his bike working again. So, unfortunately, a bit of a tough day out there for Robin Elg from Hong Kong, China.
Oh, they're virtually caught up now. Well, fair play to the chasing pack. Because at one point, it looked as though Devey and Reed might have got a march, but that's not going to be the case because the pack are back with them now.
No, that's really good cycling. I think that was the Japanese athlete, Yoshikawa. So a really good effort up the hill from Yoshikawa, just closing that gap. Okay, a little bit of respite from the sun. Clouds have just come over a little bit.
Georgentum now nearly 2 minutes off the pace with those other names you see there on your screen, including Van der Planck and Keller of Austria.
So splits to Casper Storn's group now, 27 seconds.
So they just keep working away.
Bearing in mind that Alois Nabel was 8 seconds off the front, so in actual fact they're about 20 seconds, the gap from the back of the front group to Casper Storners and Sebastian Bernison. Just see they're coming up the hill now, so that gap's definitely gone down to those chasers. You can see there from that camera angle, that can't be more than about 10 seconds or so now. That group splintered as well by the looks of it. They were all together coming through transition, so yeah, that chase group is splintered going up the climb. Some of those athletes really struggling. Wouldn't be surprised if the Norwegians really putting the hammer down, trying to close that gap to the leaders as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that might actually help. If that becomes a smaller group with the likes of Storners and others, that might actually make it a more streamlined effort in terms of reducing the gap further. Got it down to under half a minute. We're about halfway through the bike. So they could potentially still catch the leaders, or at least get very close to. These are the leaders. Marble just at the back of that group of 10.
Still silver of Portugal.
We haven't seen Silva anywhere near the front, have we, at any stage in this group? I think he's delighted just to be in this pack and hoping to just stay in it.
Yeah, we saw him struggling a little bit. I don't know if he... there was a little bit of a gap that formed on the descent. We just saw him diagonally off the back. He managed to get himself back on again. There we go. I think that's either the suit of Andreas Carlsen or Matt Wright, the yellow and blue, obviously similar colors, Barbados and Sweden. I think it's Andreas Carlsen working together with the Norwegians there. Yes, those athletes are pretty much onto this group. Just see at the bottom of your shot there, Carlsen, and I think it could be Willis or one of the Norwegian athletes. Red and blue suit.
Well, that's a great effort on this lap. They must have really put the hammer down.
I think that's why that group has absolutely splintered, that chase group.
So the leaders have been caught on the 4th lap of 7, and now it changes the dynamic a little bit, because now we've got...
Willis is in there, yeah.
Yeah, Willis and Stornes.
And Bernison, the two Norwegians.
Wurtz and Saxon Morgan. See exactly how many we can count them when they come out the tunnel, and not far away from getting back to transition to complete this 4th lap.
There were about 17 of them in that chase group, but there certainly aren't 17 of them that have made it up to this group. So that chase group definitely splintered up the climb. It's probably about, I would say, maybe 6 or 7 of them that have made it onto this group. Yeah, the cloud cover definitely helping the heat. Expecting 30 degrees plus temperatures, so a little bit of respite with that cloud cover.
So Willis of Great Britain on the right in the black. Still DeVay and Taylor Reid right at the head of affairs.
Yeah, you could see Russell White there of Ireland as well. He's made it into that group. We know that the two Norwegians have made it into that group. Jack Willis. I make it a count of about 16 or 17, I think. Maybe a little bit more.
Amazing, isn't it? Like about 5 minutes ago, we were wondering if DeVay and Reid were going to get away as a duo. And now we've got, as you say, 16, 17 riding around together and coming through to complete their 4th lap. So just 3 laps left now, which means 15 kilometers there or thereabouts, just shy of that.
So you'll have to excuse my counting, but it's a group of 23 athletes. So there's 23 in that lead group.
So now I'm looking at those who haven't made it. So Hobel, who was very prominent at the water.
Matt Wright as well, he's missed it.
Yeah. So they're the two.
And Lucas Pertz, I think those 3 have just missed it. Yeah, but against the usual trend of Karlovy Vary, we have a group of 23 men together.
Yes, that doesn't happen often, does it? And you really don't want to be riding on your own like that. That's Kajula Kovac of Hungary, who unfortunately has only got himself for company.
Yeah, so Casper Stornes will be really pleased now to find himself in this front group. Exactly where he wanted to be. Carlson, I think he's ridden very, very strongly as well. Another of those athletes who unfortunately missed out on qualifying Paris. I think he was in the running for quite a lot of the qualification period, but I think he was struck down by injury or illness towards the latter part of the qualification, so unfortunately missed out. Two of our Germans in there as well, Eric Dina and Valentin Burns.
So an hour into this Karlovy Vary World Cup, and we're still none the wiser really in terms of who's going to get on the podium. Now we've got 23 men at the front. Pretty much all the big names are there.
It's like Mark DeVey's younger brother as well has made it into that front group as well. Zombo DeVey. These are chasers. Matt Wright, Kovac and Pertl just strung in the middle. Unfortunately not making it into the front group, and then we have the chasers who are further just over 2 minutes back. French, Georgentham, Huber Mosbrugger. Someone's gone off the front there on the descent. Like a blue tri-suit to me from that shot. It's being shut down pretty quickly though. See them strung out in a long line. It's really difficult positioning wise to kind of alter your position when you're descending, so kind of want to get around that dead turn front to mid pack.
Well, there's Matt Wright also riding solo.
Dangling between the two groups at the moment. Had a great debut Olympics in Paris.
Yeah, what a thrill that must have been for him.
Yeah. Qualified by the America's new flag.
We've got a few solo riders kind of splintered around the course. This is a tough enough course when you're riding as a group, let alone on your own.
Yeah, something I didn't expect in the race today is a large group of men at the front. Only 2.5 laps to go. We're still in for some fireworks. This is our chase group now. Got our leading group of 23 odd. Got the likes of Matt Wright and Kovac stuck in between, and then we've got this group from 27th, 28th through to 42nd. So around 20 athletes in this chase group.
I still wouldn't put it past any one of several athletes to maybe try and make a break on the last couple of laps here.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly the same thing. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, they might just decide to sit in for a lap or two, let the legs recover a little bit, and then, like you say, try and make a little bit of a break for it, perhaps on the second to last or last lap. You know, particularly if they're not the fastest runner, they're going to try and get themselves on a podium position, and that's the way that they're going to have to do it.
fascinating to see how John Reid, well, a lot of them actually, in terms of the run, but John Reid in particular.
Yeah, I was just having a look. John Reid, Kevin Gonzalez. You know he's running well.
Yeah. Stornez, you would expect to run well.
Stornez as well. I have no idea what Russell White's form is at the moment, but when he is at the top of his game, he's also up there.
Willis, who knows
Jack
what
Willis,
he'll be doing.
yeah.
Narble, Morgan. I mean, there's there's a whole host of them that might.
There are a lot of takers there. Two German athletes as well, Dina and Burns. Germans are so strong at the moment, both across the male and female.
Just a couple of bits of housekeeping. Robin Elg, who we saw struggling with his bike, he's actually been disqualified for basically cutting the swim course.
Sounds like he's had a bit of a nightmare of a day.
Not a great day at the office.
No.
And also, Philip Michalek of Czech Republic has a DNF issue with the bike after the first lap.
So Elg had clearly come off his bike. He was had a ripped suit there. So yeah, a bit of a nightmare day for him.
So just 2 laps to go now on the bike.
Yeah, Kevin Venuela Gonzalez leading them through. Russell White on his wheel. The two Kiwis, Saxon Morgan, Taylor Reid, and then our two Norwegians as well, right behind each other, the youngster Wernersen and Casper Storns, who in his interview alluded to the fact he might be old at 27 years old, which I would say was unusual, because he's 27, and certainly in triathlon terms is not old. We'll call him one of the most experienced. He's been on the circuits for a long time, so yeah.
Good to see Saxon Morgan in a prominent position. He actually had a respectable top 30 finish in Hamburg in July, but otherwise, with a bit of a frustrating year, he was disqualified in Wollongong for mounting his bike in transition, and said he was very disappointed after Tizzy. He came 24th, but he qualified really easily from his semi-final, and then just said he was flat, suffered in the heat in the final, because he had been training at altitude with Dylan McCulloch, who made his Olympic debut in Paris in New Zealand colours.
Yeah, perhaps he's just coming right, his form's coming right at the back end of the season. I'm not sure whether he's still under 23. He raced under 23 at the last World Championships.
He's 24 now.
He's 24, right? So yeah, he won't be racing under 23 Worlds then.
Yeah, looking to better his best ever World Cup result, which is a kind of modest 10th in Hong Kong in March.
Chasers there, I think I can see Erwin van der Plank, the sole Belgian athlete in the field here today. Probably a bit of a frustrating day for him.
Yeah, that injury he got when he got hit by a car. Multiple fractures, burns, concussion. He was actually put in some kind of a induced coma. He was out for 6 months.
Yeah, it sounded awful.
Yeah, but fully recovered now, so good to see him back.
Yeah, great to see him back, and that really strong result that he had, just being off the podium in 4th place in Huitzilopochtli. And his wife gave birth to their baby girl in April, so he's had a pretty good year. Hauger of Austria. This is our chasers. Meanwhile, this is our lead group. They're just reaching the top of the hill. Kevin Venuela Gonzalez on the front.
Yeah, he's either been on the front or the back.
Yes.
There's not been any kind of middle ground.
At one point, I thought he was struggling because he was on the back,
Yeah.
but clearly not.
I did too.
Because we've seen him at the front on quite a few occasions now. It's absolutely beautiful location, isn't it?
Look, almost like a kind of fairy story location with the tree, the forest, and then the towers like a castle of some kind.
Yeah, absolutely stunning. So Hobo, unfortunately, struggling on the bike. He was in the lead group. He's now dropped into the chase group. He just looks like he's not enjoying himself on the bike today. Still very young, 20 years old, so sure, great opportunity getting some experience at World Cup level. These are chasers now, just making their way up to the turnaround point.
No sign of a breakaway. Last men to attempt it were DeVay and Reed a couple of laps ago. Looked like it had half a chance of working, but it was covered in the end.
Yeah, and we're running out of time, aren't we? Because we're going to be heading on to the last lap shortly. Still have a very large group of men. Looks like one of our Hungarians on the front there, followed closely by Kevin Cornella Gonzalez. See the bright green of the Irish suit of Russell White, cycling alongside Jack Willis on his left there. Diener of Germany. Of course, in the World Cup races, you don't have to race in your mandatory country colours. So some of the athletes might be wearing colours that we're not perhaps used to. Diener there, obviously racing in a personal tri-suit there, not the typical German colours.
Did you ever race out of South African colours, or were you always in the green and gold?
Once or twice I did, just if I liked a tri-suit.
Right.
It's quite good if you have a bright colour. If someone's watching you, then they can look for you. But I guess people get so used to you being in a particular colour, don't they?
Well, the Spaniard's trying to get himself a little bit of a leap on the field here, Kevin Finlayler. DeVay now at the back.
Yeah, interesting DeVay at the back. Either he's put himself there and just going to recover and wait for the run, or he's there to recover because he's plotting a bit of a break heading onto the run. Well, there we go. Reed and DeVay back towards the front of that group now. I think this is the younger DeVay, actually.
Yes, you're right. There's two of them. I should have realised.
That's the smaller brother, yeah. I was also confused for a moment there. Then I remembered he was in this group. So those athletes on the left, unfortunately, being lapped out. So they'll have to remove themselves from the course. So unfortunately, that's their day over. Yeah, the rule being if you get lapped out on the bike, unfortunately, you have to remove yourself from the course for safety reasons. However, on the run, if you get lapped, you can continue on.
Well, our leader has taken the bout. This is an interesting tactic from the Spaniard, and he's got himself a little bit of daylight here.
Yeah, really interesting, because I would have said he's probably one of the stronger runners in the field.
Yeah.
So you question whether he had to make a break for it. So yeah, it's great to see. He's racing really aggressively. He we've always seen him, well, not always, but the last few laps he's kind of been on the front on this climb. So he's obviously feeling good on the climb and maybe just deciding, well, I'm feeling good, let me take a chance and see if I can get a bit of a gap leading onto the run.
He was 13th here last year, so hoping to go a lot better than that. I really like this tactic, actually. He knows he's only got 5K to ride, and he can get a bit of a jump on the field, and he is a very solid runner.
Yeah, I mean, he's had those few podiums at aquathlon level. He is the world aquathlon champion. He's had some decent World Cup results, 11th in Tangier and a 13th in Valencia. I actually remember him running in Tangier. He was in the chase back and he ran all the way through with Richard Murray. So that was a 5K race. He ran himself into 11th place, I think, after being way back off the bike.
He's a World Beach Games champion. He's a Mediterranean Games champion. He can perform. And a little look across to our cameraman. And he's only one. Is he?
I think he's asking if this is his last lap.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you'd think he would know that. The bell might have been a bit of a clue. I don't think that counts as having outside help, does it?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, you see, Vincent Louis should have asked someone that in Leeds a couple of years ago. Might not have crashed through the barriers.
Yeah, I mean, 7 laps is quite a lot. I think the most I've ever remember cycling is about 10 laps, and sometimes you ask the other girls around you, what lap are we on? Is this our last lap?
There's usually a board as well, isn't there, in transition that says.
There is usually a board, you're absolutely right.
But he knows, and he's away with a little bit of a lead into his final lap.
He'll get a good look once he's made that dead turn at the top of the climb. See the chasers coming up the hill yet. He's got a decent lead at the moment. I'd say there's more than 5 seconds. We don't see anyone coming up at the moment.
Well, the other thing is if he does stay out game and he gets there you go, so there you can see the chasers. He'll go at least 10 seconds back, maybe a bit more. He gets a nice clear run through into transition as Keller has a problem with his bike, the Austrian.
Looks like that might have been a drop chain as well when these athletes change gear going up the hill there. Russell White leading them round the dead turn there.
Yeah, so Wilde's going to have, assuming he stays where he is, no danger of any traffic in transition. He's going to have it all to himself when he comes in.
I'd suspect his descending is pretty good given his cross triathlon mountain biking background. You know, these guys are pretty skilled. They're used to riding the mountain bike downhill. So yeah, good for him. Let's see what that time gap is.
Well, he had a 6-second lead when he came through transition on his complete his penultimate lap. So, you know, if he can get it out to 10, something like that, it looked like it was at least 10 seconds.
Just puts more pressure on the athletes behind him as well, doesn't it? He knows he can run as well. Chatting to the cameraman.
He's very chatty, isn't he?
I don't know if he's double checking to make sure it's a.
He's gone, told you once. I don't think it's changed. It's still the final lap, and he's not got that much of the final lap left.
No, just this descent now to Nail.
He only won the World Aquathlon Championships a fortnight ago. That was in Australia. So whether he's had this event kind of penciled in his diary for a while, he probably has.
29 years old, I think.
I think he's 28.
28.
Yeah. He was 29 in December. I've got to say, I love this. I love the fact that he's just, you know what? I reckon I can get myself, you know, a little bit of an advantage here, and I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah, it's awesome to see this aggressive style of racing. Yeah, one opportunity for him. He's coming off the back of a really confidence-boosting result in Australia.
And the thing is, success breeds success, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was just going to say, he knows he's cycling and he's swimming and running well, but he sure as heck is also cycling well, isn't he? Into the tunnel for the last time. Has a little bit of a glance behind him. Maybe with this aerial shot. Well, we can see he was just coming out of the tunnel and these guys are just heading into the tunnel. So it looks like maybe, what, 15, 20 seconds? What would you say?
Significant, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't see them in the background. He's actually sustained the breakaway. Now he's just going a little bit further ahead as well. Comes towards the end of his final lap. And sometimes you see it with a breakaway where you know that the man or the woman making the break isn't going to be able to live with some of the faster runners when they get out on the 10K run. But in Wilde's case, I'm not so sure. They don't seem bothered.
No, they spread pretty widely across the road, and we know that, you know, means that the pace is not totally on. It's when they're strung out that you know that the pace is really, really on.
So the first thing he's got to do is make sure he's off before the line. Don't need a 15-second penalty, because that would negate all the good work he's just done. I said, when we first saw him just sneak out to the front, this break will get covered, but they didn't cover it. Get the exact margin when the chasers come through transition. But then Wilde is the first man off his bike. He was off well before the line, so no problem there.
Ranked 19, so the bike will be somewhere in the middle of the transition there. Yeah, they come. So 15 seconds.
Yeah, useful. And he's away before any of them have wrapped the bikes. Now, how's his run? 10K ahead of him. Can he stay where he is at the front? 4 laps of 2.5 kilometers each. That bike's going to be stood up in the stand.
Bernison and Storns and Norwegians were the next into transitions. Looks like Storns is out of transition second. Mark de Vey out third. And Demuth of Austria and Bernison following suit.
Well, it's a handy lead.
It is a handy lead indeed,
yeah.
I was just having a quick look to see his results over Olympic distance racing. It looks like historically he's performed better over a 5K run. So he's given himself a handy lead to put himself in contention. We know we've got 10Ks to cover here. Giving himself the absolute best opportunity. Just see the bike making its way up through the field, getting a good shot of our athletes. Jack Willisig, Carlson are spotted, Reed are spotted. Now we've made ourselves up to the 2 Norwegians and De Vey, and ahead of them lies this man, Kevin Benuela Gonzalez. Looks like he's moving well at the moment.
Yeah, so before he won the World Triathlon Championships in Australia, he won the European version and the European Triathlon Cross. That was only in June. He's a serious performer.
Yeah, and I think this course suits him. It's I'd say quite a strength-based course. Just see the others coming into shot now. It's difficult to tell what that lead is. I mean, I would say 10, 15 seconds. Looks like they might have made a little bit of inroads.
I think they have.
Yeah.
It looks less than 15 seconds, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Obviously, though, that might be slightly misleading because you can sometimes make up or lose time in transition. But just because the recorded time is 15 seconds, it may not have been. He may not have been exactly 15 seconds clear coming out of transition and getting onto the run.
Yeah, we know Stornes is chasing hard from behind. I've just got a note here that he hasn't had a World Cup podium ever, so an opportunity for him today. Oh, I lie, he was third in Levin.
Yeah.
I think that was his debut World Cup podium. We know he's been on a World Series podium with that exceptional first place in Bermuda.
And the interview that he did with us yesterday, he was like making a real point of saying, I want to be in LA. LA's like even 4 years away, forefront of his thinking. That's the run course. And there are a couple of little inclines on there. As it says on there, 4 laps, 2.5 Ks each.
Yeah, he needed to get himself into the top 30 rankings because Vettel Thorn was performing so well for Norway, and obviously Christian Blumenfeld as well. And he just, I think, you know, left it too late because he hadn't been racing with that injury. So I think he was basically disappointed. Selflessly got the relay team in, but that meant only 2 of them were able to be on the start line. So I'm sure he's seen his teammates, his friends racing, and he doesn't want to miss out again. Paris.
She seems happy enough. It's hard to tell exactly what that gap is.
I'm going to say about 10 seconds.
Yeah, 10, 12 seconds it looks like, doesn't it? Or maybe they've cut it back a little bit, actually.
Yeah, perhaps slightly less.
So Devey leading the charge behind the Spaniard, then Casper Stornes.
Vernison, I think Jack Willis might be in there as well. Taylor Reid is there.
John Reid right
John
there.
Reid as well.
Yeah. Goes Willis.
Germany's Dina.
Silva of Portugal. Demuth is there as well. Narbel.
Power. Carlson.
Saxon Morgan and Russell White.
Yeah, looks like about 8 seconds. This group of 5 are running pretty well together. Taylor Reid, John Reid, 2 Norwegians, and Mark Devey.
Well, Vinwado at least looks like he's going to hold this lead until he goes through transition to complete the first of the 4 laps on the run.
Drone shot gives you a good idea of the run course through the cobblestone alleyways. Beautiful part of the city. Yeah, they've got him in their sights now. I'd say that looks like it's come down a few seconds more. He's still holding on out there.
Down to 8. That was the split time on the first lap. We'll get another timing when they go through transition.
John Reed looking strong at the moment, the young American athlete.
Well, now that you can see, they are really getting to Wilde, Reed and Stornes in particular.
Yeah, they're moving pretty well, aren't they? John Reed, Casper Stornes.
So maybe they were right to let him go. We mentioned they were just kind of, they seemed content, but maybe they knew something we didn't, because Reed's now gone past the Spaniard, so has Stornes. So we've got an American and a Norwegian, and he's still in there, Wilde. And then a bit of a gap, a small gap back to Duvet.
Taylor Reed and Sebastian Wernersen of Norway. Stornes now taking the lead, having a little bit of a glance behind him. We'll see John Reed of the US on his shoulder there.
He said he was determined, didn't he, Stornes, to make amends for last year, where he basically had to retire after, I think, three laps on the bike, which wasn't feeling well. Looking pretty good now, though. Reed is in the slipstream.
Ruela's hanging in there, isn't he?
And we'll get back to Duvet. And then Wernersen of Norway, Taylor Reed, New Zealand. And a bit of a gap, as you see, until you get to Willis, currently in 7th place.
Yeah, so John Reed had that first podium in Puerto earlier on this year. Had a 4th in Tizivaras as well. The young American just making his mark on the World Cup scene. Obviously growing in confidence. Push on there, put some pressure on Casper Stornes. Casper Stornes just tucking in on his shoulder. Manuela Gonzalez not letting them totally go yet. He's trying to hang in there.
Reed looking strong, isn't he, at the moment?
Yeah, he's looking really solid. I think it was a standout performance when he made his debut in Hamburg, finishing 16th. It's interesting how, you know, an athlete, they get a podium here and there, get a result like that, they just start to grow in confidence. You just see he believes in himself. He believes that he can run at the front of this race and get onto the podium.
Jack Willis currently in 7th place, but a bit of a gap in front of him. Currently, Taylor Reed is in 6th, 5 seconds ahead of the Brit.
Yeah, good to see a young American male coming through. Obviously got the likes of Morgan Pearson, Matt McElroy, been on the circuit for quite a long time, so it's good to see some of the younger Americans now starting to come through, new generation of athletes.
Yeah, didn't have the best of it, did they, in the individual races in Paris? Obviously picked up a much-needed silver in the mixed team relay behind Germany.
Yeah, and John Reed will have his eye on LA, home Olympics in 4 years' time.
Yeah.
He's only been competing on the circuit, I think, since 2021. That was his first World Triathlon race. Wernersen and Taylor Reed. Jack Willis with a look at his watch.
They're starting to get really strung out in behind, aren't they?
Yeah, 2 Japanese, Sato and Yoshikawa there, Nabel and Silva of Portugal. These are some of the largest cones that I've seen, apart from that one in Yokohama, that infamous gigantic cone.
Yeah. So almost stride for stride here, Reed and Stornes, with Vinuela very gamely and manfully trying to hang on, still in a clear third place. You can see DeVay leading the chasers in behind with Reed.
DeVay grimacing a bit there, working really hard. Dina as well. See a tough part of the course. There's a bit of a false flat heading out to this little out and back section. 7 climbs up that hill, obviously now taking its toll on these athletes. Booth also grimacing there. Just shows how hard this race is, doesn't it? Certainly one of the hardest on the circuit.
No question. So Stornes is just sneaking ahead of John Reed.
Well, Vinuela Gonzalez still hanging there.
Well, he's got a little bit of cushion, hasn't he, ahead of the 4th place, currently Mark DeVay.
This is a strength-based course, and I think a strength-based course will suit his cross-triathlon background. You don't necessarily have to have, I mean, these guys are running super fast, but it's not necessarily a pure speed course, and so that his mountain biking and cross-triathlon background will play in that favor. He's a strong, strong athlete. See that gap's just going out a little bit now. Yeah, like you say, if he can hang in there for another 2 laps, he does have a little bit of a cushion.
Just starting to get away from him now, Reed and Stornes.
They seem to be swapping the lead every few hundred meters, Stornes and Reed. Bit of a game of cat and mouse going on.
So DeVay 4th, Verneson 5th, Taylor Reed 6th, and then a gap back to Willis.
Ina of Germany.
Silva currently is next, although Sato was just moving up a little bit, the Japanese. Reed looks really assured at the moment, although Stornes also pretty good. Just tucked in behind him.
Yeah, they both look pretty solid, but yeah, Reed, he looks comfortable on the front, doesn't he? Just heading back towards transition. Halfway point of this run. It's 5 kilometers to go.
So 3 athletes have been lapped. You mentioned that Michelet gave up the ghost at the end of the first lap of the bike. Pertl into the 4th lap won't finish, Lucas Pertl. And Elm, as we told you, has been disqualified. So the 2 at the front, Reed and Stornes, halfway through the run, 5k down, 5k to go.
Kevin Gonzalez, 2 seconds adrift of our lead 2. Sitting in 3rd place at the moment. Chasing him, we have Verneson, DeVay, and Reed, who are sitting 18 seconds back. So Gonzalez has a 16-second buffer. So let's see whether he can hang on to that with 5 kilometers left to go. He had a 15-second gap off the bike, so he's managed to, I guess, maintain that gap. The likes of DeVay, Verneson, and Reed not running faster than him, running about the same pace. That gap's staying the same. So yeah, let's see if he's still got something left in the legs, Gonzalez. these three athletes trying to chase down Gonzalez for that bronze medal at the moment. Our two leaders inseparable at the moment. John Reid, Casper Stornes.
Yeah, and it's tough to try and kind of second guess the body language, isn't it? And see which of the two is the more comfortable. They both look pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, they probably are trying to test each other a little bit. We could see that they both had some turns on the front, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of surging going on. That's what happens. One of them will take the front, perhaps surge to test the other, have a look over their shoulder. Ah, he's still there. And there'll be a little bit of that going on. I guess until we reach a point where one of them decides to go and the other one can't hang on, whether that happens 1K out, a few hundred meters out.
Well, if anything, I'd say the gap between Wilde and it was De Vey in fourth place. Now it's Vernison. That looks to actually have increased a little bit.
Yeah, it's 16 seconds. I think they made some time up on him in the first lap, and then I think it's gone out again.
Yeah, which is a great effort from Spain. Having been caught by Reid and Stornes to kind of still give himself a decent shot at getting the medal here.
Yeah, he just seems to be really hanging tough at the moment there in third place. I think he managed to try and pace himself off the other two a bit. Just seems to have fallen a little bit further behind. So he's got to be careful that he just keeps himself together mentally and just keeps focused. You'll be able to see when he makes his turn. It's quite a nice run course because there are a few points on the run course where you get to see where your competitors are. It's this section here. It's that other little arch in the back where they go up that incline with the pot plants, and then that little bit through transition as well. So they've got 3 opportunities per lap to really see where their competitors are. Nothing separating our lead 2 athletes at the moment. So Gonzalez rounds the cone, and he'll be able to see exactly where De Vey is. Vernison.
Yeah, just lapping the Korean.
Yes. Yeah, it looks like that gap has gone out a little bit more. Well, here we've got another split, I think, as they rounded that cone. So 26 seconds Mark De Vey. Gonzalez is 8 seconds off. So 18 seconds the gap between Gonzalez and De Vey at the moment. So he's gained 2 seconds. Gonzalez has gained 2 seconds on the De Vey, Vernison and Reid group.
I know that Stornes obviously has won some 70.3 races. However, in terms of world triathlon events, he has not won an individual race since that Bermuda triumph, and that was nearly 6.5 years ago.
Yeah, that was 2018.
So this is going to be, well, it's going to be history making either way, assuming one of the two at the front wins, because Reid has obviously never won at this level either. Wilde chasing the first World Cup medal.
Vernison, De Vey and Taylor Reid. It's like Vernison and De Vey have gapped Taylor Reid a bit. Now Taylor Reid falling off that group.
Well, it looks like this is all going to be decided on the final lap, which isn't that far away, which is just how we like it.
Yeah, we know Casper Stornes has speed. He's been a stalwart on the Norwegian mixed team relay for years. John Reid, I think, comes from a track background,
he does,
so
yeah.
he's going to have the speed as well.
I think he was at Utah, John Reid. Double check that, but certainly a top class college runner, and is potentially about to prove it, because he and Stornes have kicked away from the rest here, and it looks like it's going to be a one-lap shootout between the two. Been Wilde gritting his teeth in behind. He knows that there's a bronze medal there for the taking if he can stay strong.
Stornes just tucked in behind Reed.
And Reed is quite happy to front run. He doesn't have a problem. Stornes likes to kind of be on the shoulder. We have seen him at the front of him at times.
Yeah. Probably some psychological gamemanship going on as well between the two of them. Reed's probably trying to test with Stornes. Stornes, you know, he could be struggling to just hang in there. We don't know. Or he's just happy, like you say, to sit on the back of Reed. Only time will tell.
Agur of Israel is being lapped, so he's not in the frame here.
No sign of Bay and Bernison coming around the corner there. So for now, Kevin Manuela Gonzalez.
18 seconds in hand, the last timing we got. Over Devey and Vernison and Reed.
I think separating these two.
So they are going to take the bell. Reed and Stornes. Nothing to choose between them. 2,500 meters to go. Will it be a Norwegian or will it be an American? Top step of the podium, we'll know in around about less than 10 minutes time.
Manuela Gonzalez just having a look at the Israeli athlete, wondering who this was.
Might have been worried for a
yeah,
moment.
I think he was.
That he'd got caught, but that's not the case.
No.
And the way that he's running and the way that those in behind aren't able seemingly to make any inroads now, you've got to think that Kevin Vinuela is a big favourite for a bronze medal from here.
Yeah, we'll have a look and see what the gap is. So he's 10 seconds behind our leaders, John Reed and Casper Stornes. We're just waiting for the split with so 16 seconds. So he's lost 2 seconds. Vernison is chasing hard from behind. 16 seconds back at the moment.
Yeah, well, 16 seconds is obviously good for him. He won't mind about the 2 seconds if they can have another 2 seconds on the last lap. And 15 seconds is still hold on for the bronze. Sato currently racing in 8th place with silver ahead of him. Reed has been at the front, not the whole time, but most of the time. But Stornes has never been more than a metre away, right on the shoulder on this final lap.
Yeah, Reed quite happy to front run by the looks of things. Casper Stornes just marking his every move at the moment.
Absolutely fascinating, this. See which of them is going to make the first move. So Reed just a smidgen
Looks
of
like
daylight.
he surged a little bit there, didn't it?
Yeah. Just asked a question. Looks like Stornes has answered it.
Yeah, he's still there.
And he's trying again, I think.
Yeah, you can see there's some surging going on there. This is a little bit of a downhill section before they start to climb up again.
Can Stornes stay with him?
On paper, I'd say Reed is the faster athlete insofar as a sprint is concerned. However, we know Stornes' pedigree. Israeli athletes is running pretty fast.
Yeah.
He's being lapped and then unlapped, I think.
Kind of maybe just should get out of the way and let him go past, and then he could go as fast as he likes. This is in behind Vinuela, who, as we mentioned, has got that 16-second cushion.
Yeah, we haven't had a shot of Vinuela for a little while, so it'd be interesting to see whether Vernison's made any inroads into that 16-second deficit. Saw how Gina Serino blitzed through the last lap of the run in the women's race, so you know it is a possibility. Jack Willis there, he's sitting in 10th at the moment. Taylor Reed in 11th. So still together. Reid and Stornes.
Just a bit of a gap, though.
Yes.
This is the biggest gap we've seen. It's only about 5 meters.
Yeah, that's the biggest gap we've seen.
Stornes just gave the impression a moment ago of being a tad weary. Vinuela knows he's less than, well, he's probably about 1,500 meters away now from a first World Cup medal.
See Vernison coming there.
And that should give Vinuela a lift. He's still got a very significant advantage. Just needs to hang tough for the next few minutes.
Yeah, he's got 13 seconds now, so Vernison has chipped away another 3 seconds into Gonzalez, that deficit. So Gonzalez just needs to hang tough this last portion of the run. But yeah, there was definitely a gap forming between John Reid and Casper Stornes there. Question is whether Stornes has been able to close that back down. Actually, the Israeli athlete may have been of a little bit of a help to John Reid. It gives him someone to chase. Just to be clear to our viewers, he is 1 lap behind these athletes.
Yeah, it's not a three-way fight. It's 2 of them battling for this victory. Past the halfway point of their final lap, 1 hour and 51 and change. And still we're not sure who's going to take gold here, but it's either going to be John Reid or Casper Stornes. Here's Kevin Vinuela booked for bronze, unless he has a bit of a capitulation over the last 1,000 meters or so.
So yeah, that's a definitive gap now.
Reid has gone, yeah. Reid has left Stornes, and it's his race to lose now. He looks like he's timed this to absolute perfection. Stornes very safe in silver, but at the moment, Reid looks effectively nailed on. And the timing of this has been nigh on perfection from the Americans' point of view. He got into he was in the lead group on the bike initially, wasn't he, John Reid?
Yes.
Because I remember saying at the time, it was good to see that he'd done that. And then never seriously looked like coming off or getting spat out of that pack. And asserted on the run. Ran with Stornes for first, 3.5 laps. And then made his kick at just about the perfect time.
Yeah, Stornes looking like he's in a world of pain right now. Not far to go. Such a brutal course.
So Reid finally gets past the Israeli. And he hasn't got far to go. I think maybe it's taken him a little while since he first came into triathlon, just to kind of understand the sport, because it's so different to just running. It's so different.
Yeah, it feels like a switch has been flicked, and he's just, I don't know, just seems to have a confidence about him now, John Reid. He's had that podium, and you know, just seems to know that he can do it again. No sign of Stornes as yet. Stornes just rounding the corner there.
Yeah, and Reid can kind of sniff the finish line from here. Started the sport, John Reid, back in terms of World Triathlon Racing 3 years ago, and it's taken him this long really to win a race of this magnitude, but he's won this one in style. The American comes home first in Karlovy Vary. Reid wins for the USA. Stornes quite happy now to jog in for silver. He's had a resurgent season. Second World Cup medal of the campaign for Casper Stornes after a real battle with John Reid. And we're assuming that Kevin Vinuela is going to hold on for third. He can't believe it himself.
Such a brave race by Kevin Vinuela Gonzalez for third.
Yeah, when he got caught early on the run, we feared the worst. Dana, that's a great fourth place for Germany. DeVay comes in for another solid result, fifth for him. Got ahead of the other Norwegian, Sebastian Wernersen, who will come home in sixth place.
Silver of Portugal there in seventh.
Winning time 1:54.24. Might sound slow in kind of the current climate of Olympic distance racing, but it's such a tough course.
Sato finishing eighth there in Japan. Jack Willis in a sprint with Alois Knabel.
Willis holds him off.
Knabel rounding out the top 10.
So Yoshikawa, Atari Yoshikawa coming in for 11th place. Uwe Moosbrugger of France.
It's a good run by him. He was in the chase group. They were pretty far back.
And Verts got ahead of Taylor Reid, who rather faded on the run, somewhat surprisingly.
The younger DeVay, Zombo DeVay, finishing comfortably in the top 20. 15th place, I think. Apologies. Okay.
Surprised to see Taylor Reid so far down the run, actually, because he was obviously in that leading group on the bike the whole way. Maybe it just didn't feel right today.
Right, Bedos. Solid result for Matt.
Andrew of the Netherlands, home in 18th place. Lufenstein are going to be in the top 20. Following, in fact, just outside the top 20. Middow was 20th for the US. Lufenstein are 21st.
Saxon Morgan finishing in 22nd. Russell White's just behind him in 23rd. Damien of Canada. Andreas Carlson of Sweden. 24th and 25th.
I think it's going to be interesting hearing from John Reid. Our reporter Ben Eastman is down there, and we will hear from all three medalists, hopefully. Van der Plant just coming in for Belgium.
John Reid and his crew today. Second place goes to Norway.
Van der Plank is going to come in, I think, in 26th place when he crosses the line. A lot of the younger and debutant World Cup triathletes will be still to finish behind the Belgian. As far as I can see, we had 4 DNFs, sorry, 1 disqualification and 3 men lapped out.
One of our debutants, the young American Norland. Mainville of Canada, finishing in 30th place. Our Czech athlete, Zygmunt.
Mainville finishing nearly 6 minutes behind John Reid. Home-based triathletes will always be applauded on their run-in towards the finish. So Thomas Zygmunt is going to finish in 32nd place. I think there are only 9 other triathletes out on the course behind him.
Yeah, we've got those 8 DNFs, fortunately.
Very warm out there, even without that much sun.
Beth of Kazakhstan. Beaugrand, Hungary, 34th and 35th.
Oliver of Poland now comes onto the blue carpet. Paul Jorgensen actually stone cold last of the finishers at the moment, according to my screen.
It's a tough day out for him, unfortunately. Nicholas Holmes of the Young Project Podium USA athletes. It's a young collegiate program. There's some grazing on his knee, so it might have come off his bike. Our local athletes.
Well, they'll stay the locals here until the last triathlete has crossed the finish line. Still a few more after Tamka.
Hobor, the Hungarian, showed a lot of promise after the swim, but unfortunately faded a bit on the bike in the run.
Learning experience, though.
Yeah, 20 years old, so pretty new to the trade.
So confirmation then. John Reid wins his first ever World Cup. Casper Stornes takes the silver, and brave bronze for Kevin Vinuela of Spain. Excellent 4th place actually for Eric Dana. The Vay is so consistent these days, isn't it?
Yeah, Dina, that's strong. Just 4 seconds off the podium in the end. Just ran out of tarmac. Jack Willis in 9th. Lewis Narble in 10th.
Well, just having a little look back at what we've seen over the last couple of hours. Initially, we had a group of about 10 on the bike, and then the chasers caught on, and in the end, it became a one-on-one battle between John Reid and Casper Stornes. It was Reid who broke away close home, and in the end, won comfortably.
John, a fantastic performance out there, your first World Cup win. How do you feel right now?
I'm elated. This course is iconic. Honestly, probably the hardest race I've ever done in my life. From the get-go, Mark, I knew he was going to drill the swim, and that's exactly what he did. And then, I mean, you just the bike, you just can't go easy. Like it's hard, and then yeah, I had to push the first K to kind of catch up to the leaders, and then Casper and I were going for it, and then, forgive me, I don't know the guy from Israel's name, but he came by us on the last lap, and I was like, oh my God. And like he skipped water, so I totally thought he was just sprinting for the win. So then I was like, oh boy, gotta go with him. But you know, it worked out and it was great.
And coming out of the water, there was you and 2 other men trying to latch onto that front group. How tough was that opening burst of speed?
It was tough. I knew needed to be in a good position by the time you hit that kind of big descent into town. You know, that's what my coach and I talked about, where that was a critical position, so I knew I had to drill it. And just coming out of the swim, I mean, it was single file, you know, because everybody was just gunning it, so it was a good effort.
And then it seemed on the bike there were just attacks everywhere. Devay went, Reid went, then Vinuelo at the end went. How was it managing that kind of speed?
I still got to get better technically. I think Taylor came through a couple times on the kind of the long descent into the cobble section, and I was a little hesitant going on the cobbles, and then I'd fall back, and then I'd have to gun it, and so I got a room to improve.
And then finally, on the run, when it was just down to you and Casper, what was going through your mind for that final 5 kilometers?
I like running at the front, and you could probably ask some of my training partners back home. You know, I like to lead the reps, and so that's kind of what I did. But then I've been out-kicked a lot, and so I was pretty nervous. I know Casper's an incredible athlete, so I was pretty nervous he was going to out-kick. But I was able to get some momentum on the uphills and then try and hold it on the downhills and, you know, manage to hang in.
Congratulations on your first World Cup win.
Yeah, he's won a couple of America's Championships, but this is a step up for John Reid. Casper Stornes, meanwhile, has had a good season, I think we can say now. Excellent race in Hamburg, podium in France in a World Cup race earlier this year, and now a silver medal in the Czech Republic, and hopefully he's down there and he's going to have a word with Ben for us.
Today, silver. It was close at the end. How was that final kilometer for you?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so tired now. I really went for it on the bike, and yeah, I felt at some point that I were doing most of the work, but I got some help from Sebastian and some other guys, and we made up. And the last 3 laps were all about just saving the energy, and I just didn't feel good on a run, so I just needed to stay in the back of Reid. So yeah, I'm just happy to finish second. So yeah.
It seemed like you and Sebastian were doing quite a lot of work on the bike and really hammering it, especially in those first few laps to bring back the leaders. How tough was that?
Yeah, it was really tough. I was like, if we're going like this, I will maybe not manage to run, but yeah, I saved some bit the last 3 laps, and now oh fuck, I'm sorry. I'm so tired now.
Just one last question. You've had a brilliant year so far. You've really made a lot of comebacks. You had a great result in Hamburg. How is your year going?
Yeah, obviously it's going okay. Like, I'm performing on long distance and short distance, so yeah, I'm happy, and yeah, it's 3 more races this season, so I hope to finish on a high level, and yeah.
Well, we'll let you go and rest now. Congratulations.
Well, apologies for some of the spicy language. He obviously is a bit emotional down there, Casper Stornes. Certain things get said sometimes in the heat of the moment. Meanwhile, Now, Kevin Vinuela will be, no doubt, absolutely delighted with his first ever World Cup medal. It looked like he couldn't believe it himself when he crossed the finishing line, because it seemed like he got caught early on the run by the leading two, but by no one else. So let's go and hear from him. He's down with Ben.
Kevin, congratulations. Your first bronze medal at the World Cup level.
Thank you very much. It's race of my life, la carrera de mi vida. The 3 weeks ago, Aquathlon World Championship, and in Karlovy Vary, my first podium in World Cup. It's a dream. A medal in the World Cup, it's a dream. Today, it's my day. A lot of years training every day. 10 years, every day. Satisfaction with results. Yes. Pues por fin ha salido la carrera que creía que podía salir, y ha sido un relevo generacional, y ahora con la gente de mi edad y así, pues me siento competitivo. La primera vez que tiro en la bici, porque nadando ya había tirado, y después la última vuelta me he escapado en bici, y eso me ha permitido coger un ritmo corriendo cómodo, que a veces me cuesta al inicio, y ahí ya pues todo el rato iba pensando en la medalla. Aunque me pasaran, yo solo pensaba en la medalla. La victoria sé que aún falta mucho, y nada, estoy muy contento y agradecido a toda la gente que se alegra por este resultado, que es mucha, y viniendo de Vega Cervera, de un pueblo tan pequeño de León, es increíble haber podido llegar digamos, a la élite mundial del triatlón.
Well, congratulations on your medal, and enjoy the rest of your evening in Karlovy Vary.
Thank you.
Well, pretty happy, no question. Kevin Vinuela, one of the best results of his career, if not the best, even though, as we mentioned in commentary, he's been very successful in aquathlon and also triathlon cross. Now, if you were with us earlier on, you'll know that we didn't have a women's ceremony after the women's race, because they have both the ceremonies kind of now. So it will be the women first, and then the men, once they are ready in the presentation area. Even though, as we mentioned in commentary, he's been very successful in triathlon and also triathlon cross.
I would like to ask kindly for the ceremony, all the ladies will be starting briefly.
You never get a dull race in Karlovy Vary.
No, absolutely not. One of the iconic venues on the circuit. Long may it continue moving forward. I think the athletes love it. It's an honest race. It's damn hard. You can see all the emotions on the athletes' faces and in the interviews afterwards. But yeah, it's never a dull race here in the Czech Republic.
This will be the staff team photo.
Volunteers in their orange t-shirts.
Yeah, and these kind of events basically can't exist without the army of volunteers.
Probably find the whole city gets behind the events. Like we mentioned earlier, there's a policeman on the floor. We've got the age groupers who competed yesterday, junior race as well yesterday. It does look like the whole city comes out and supports it and just enjoys the day out. I think we've been very lucky with the weather as well the past few years. did have 1 or 2 years with some wet, miserable weather, but yeah, lovely late summer weather here in Karlovy Vary. Waiting for their photo opportunity of the medalists. Eagerly awaiting. Well, the junior athletes still with their numbers on from the races yesterday. Being able to come and watch some of their idols and heroes racing here today, which is also wonderful.
Myslím, že Petra Koříková zachránila situaci na stupních vítězů, protože společně běželi v těch posledních kilometrech. Teď společně vyběhnou i na stupně vítězů. Petra se dovolala Američance a tím pádem budeme kompletní, aby jsme vám mohli představit ty nejlepší závodnice dnešního konečného pořadí. Ještě Gina stihla Johnu Reedovi pogratulovat, jejímu týmovému partňákovi za dnešní triumf v kategorii mužů, protože to dnes budou 2 medaile pro Spojené státy v konečném hodnocení. Uvedeme jak kategorii žen, tak také kategorii mužů. Ta zlatá samozřejmě v tom souboji mužů, jak před malečkou chvilkou.
Dámy a pánové, my jsme připraveni k vyhlášení slavnostních výsledků kategorie žen. A já předám slovo Wilde.
Jdeme se podívat na to, kdo byl nejlepší v kategorii elitních žen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the medal ceremony of the 2024 World Triathlon Cup Karlovy Vary Elite Women.
So it sounds like we are just about ready to get the medal ceremony underway. Of course, we'll have 2 ceremonies, one for the women and then one for the men. Adds a bronze to the 2 silvers that she's won at Vina Del Mar. in the last couple of years. Phenomenal run as well to get past Marta Kropko of Hungary.
Handmade porcelain plate trophies.
They're nice, aren't they?
Yeah, lovely.
So Petra Kurikova of the Czech Republic takes silver. Had to make up 3 minutes on Marta Kropko.
Probably the biggest smile of the day. Petra Kurikova, just great to have that World Cup podium in a home World Cup race.
Only her 6th race of the year, and that's a silver to the gold she won in the Pontevedra World Cup 2 years ago.
Toho souboje, který nám nabídla v centru Karlových Varů. A proto dnes zásluhou stříbrná Petra Kuříková. Ženou, která si dnes odnese vítězství, je dáma, která se první pozice v závodě prakticky nevzdala. The winner, the number one of 2024 World Triathlon Cup Karlovy Vary in the category Elite Women is member of team of Netherlands, Maya Kingma!
First race win since that brilliant victory she had in Leeds more than 3 years ago. All the issues that she's had with injuries, and it's days like these that make all the hard work, the recovery work worthwhile. And she was a standout winner today.
Yes, such a strong performance.
Absolutely amazing performance, not only while swimming, cycling, but also great in the last 10K run. Today's champion, Maya Kingma! Dámy a pánové, na počet vítězky zazní nizozemská hymna. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem of the Netherlands. kategoriích, ale že jsme sledovali závody dětí, závody juniorů, závody pro širokou veřejnost, prostě si ty triatlonky první českých hodin. Taková Karlovy Vary mohla avantovat a triatlonisté. Dvojka nejlepším řadě, s vítězům ještě vyrazí, tady se nejlepší muži. The 2024 World Triathlon Cup Karlovy Vary in the category of elite men. Ladies and gentlemen, let's meet the best three athletes and those who will be presenting the award for the best elite athletes of today's program of 2024 World Triathlon Cup Karlovy Vary in the category of elite men. Medaile těm nejlepším bude předávat, medals will be presented by the mayor of Karlovy Vary, Andrea Pfeffer-Perklová. Andrea Pfeffer-Perklová bude to, kdo bude předávat medaile těm nejlepším. Presenting flowers, květiny z rukou, Enric Cassandre, World Triathlon Representative, zástupce světového triatlonu. A trofeje poputují z rukou k těm nejlepším. Presenting the trophies to the winners will be František Horák, member of National Sport Agency. František Horák, zástupce Národní sportovní agentury. Dámy a pánové, na třetím místě se umístil, ladies and gentlemen, in the third place, representing Spain, Kevin Tarek Vinula Gonzalez.
Well, it's a great performance from the Spaniard, because when he got caught early on the run by both Reed and Stornes, Gillian, you kind of thought, okay, that's probably his medal chances done, but he stuck it out brilliantly.
Yeah, he really hung in there. Really brave performance, both with the break on the bike and his run.
Of cycling and boosted hard. He was not waiting for anybody and anything. 15 seconds, that was the gap between him and the chasers who are starting running, and then he was, I would wager, suffering while running, but he managed. He managed, one of the heroes of today's race, the bronze medalist, Kevin Tarek Vinula Gonzalez. In the second place is the man representing Norway, Kasper Stornes.
Yeah, great performance from Stornes, who's starting to produce a few displays now at this kind of distance. Won a medal in a World Cup race in France earlier in the season. It's a sprint indoor event. 70.3, we know how adept he is at that as well. And now at the Olympic distance, his first medal since that wonderful win in Bermuda back in 2018.
vyjednaný startové listě, tím nejsilnější do závodního poledne zbyl. And the winner of 2024 World Triathlon Cup Karlovy Vary in the category Elite Man is member of team of the United States of America. He is John Reed.
First victory in what you might call a truly international race. He's won some continental races, but this, a first World Cup win for the 23-year-old. And you've probably got to think there's more medals ahead for him.
Yeah, great results. That third in Huatulco, the win here today. I think this youngster from the US, John Reed, is just getting started.
And so strong that nobody can question today's winner. He is John Reed. Dámy a pánové, na počet vítěze zazní americká hymna. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the first flag of the United States of America. John Reed, the best team man of the final standing of 2024 World Triathlon Cup Karlovy Vary. Už jim odchází jen na maličký moment, protože se budou
Well, that just about concludes our coverage from the Czech Republic. Hope you've enjoyed it. Two excellent races today from myself, Trevor Harris, for Gillian Sanders and our whole production crew in Karlovy Vary and beyond. See you again soon. For now, bye-bye.